up in Mount Arbel, or just beginning to get up there. Good morning. Got these tiny little flowers down here, look at that. But the whole mountain is a mess of flowers, an ocean of flowers. And the sun beat me to it. I was thinking it was going to be later because of the cloud, but apparently the cloud is not so intense over there. You can see that it's a watery sun this morning. We're expecting rain tomorrow, and then we have 2 days of rain, at least on the prognosis, and then we have 4 or 5 days, and then we have 3 or 4 days of rain the following week. But obviously the further out the prognosis is, the more it can change. Look at here, we have these little clover ones all over the place. The whole side of the slope here is covered with them. We might have a surprise this morning as well. We might experiment with something new. So looking forward to this if it works. Look at all the flowers up here. It's mustard plants, or mustard flower. Because I don't think that's the same as the mustard plant of the Gospels, right? The parable of the mustard seed. I think that's a bigger plant, but again, I need to be instructed. So we go in here over the stile. I think you know this spot. Well, it's not over the stile, it's around the stile. On the farm, the stile were steps and a stone wall. And we simply stepped up little by little and got through. This is a big forest. Thankfully, this is dry, not like a few days ago when I came here and it was drenched and drenching. Look at all the flowers. It's like going through a forest of flowers. Hey, look at our little friends. They're growing fast. The only thing is we don't see too many butterflies this time of the morning. They probably have morphed a lot of them. I saw a couple of butterflies on Sunday when I was out hiking. But that was the middle of the day, or late morning rather. Here we are just beyond Magdala, and our lovely hills bordering Lebanon. And Hermon will not be seen today, I doubt, with the lower level of visibility. It's a long time since I called in all the places that are participating. Just saw New York. And we have Louisiana and California, and I haven't noticed the other countries here, but I'm sure they're there. I'm focusing on where I'm walking, of course. Canada is here out in the prairie provinces. Oops. There are less poppies now. I see a few up there. I don't think I can zoom in. They're far away for trying to get in there at the moment. And the nettles are maturing in their pattern. Their flowers are not so pretty, but there they are. Their next generation is being prepared. What would we do without nettles, you know? We always considered nettles quite a weed, and we always wanted to eliminate them on the farm. It's very mild this morning. All the cloud cover didn't allow it to get cool last night. Kept the blanket around the earth, at least in these parts. And here we have another type of flowers. All these, we saw some of them just as we started. The whole Mount Arbel is like this, okay? It's just one entire mess. Oh, here we have one of the anemones. Two of them actually. Look at that, isn't that beauty? Look at this one here. Look at all these flowers up here. It's just a mess of flowers. All. Let me just zoom in a little, and you can see what I'm talking about. Look at that. It's just the whole way up. It's just a mess of flowers. Our lovely Sea of Galilee, so calm this morning, almost like a mirror. Not 100%, but almost like a mirror. And there we go back again to the flowers here. The richness of creation. Here there are just millions of them. So we see that bounty of blooming. And think then there's the different ones here, the little daisies. Margarita, I think they call them in Spanish, which means pearl. And then there's this one, I didn't talk about it the other day, and I don't know what it is, but I was struck by it after I finished the other day and realized there was tons of this. And it's not as glamorous a flower, you know, it's not sensational, but that seems to be like a flower. It is, I think, and it's a little duller in terms of its color, but it's another one of the creatures of God, you know. And now the sun is going into hiding behind a cloud. But only for a while. The sun will come out again, you know. The sun will always come out again. So our readings today are very rich in teaching us about our place in creation and our place as a people of the Creator and Redeemer in a wonderful covenant with God, and how that covenant is so special. That's all flowers, okay? All that yellow. Just like this. I imagine God looking down on the world and he sees all souls and hearts blooming, more beautiful than the flowers, and struggling and facing tempests and storms. And blooming and bearing fruit. And he pours down his rain to moisten our souls, soften our hearts. This is where we're walking through now. Don't be worried, there are no snakes out this time of the morning, okay? These nettles are as high as my eye, almost as tall as me. These are the wild hillsides, people. If God takes care of the wild hillsides with such color and such beauty, what's he not doing in our hearts and souls? And today the readings, Moses is talking to the people about the commandments and how they should love the commandments and appreciate them as a source of wisdom. And the commandments are God's pathways for us to blossom and bloom and to fill the world with true beauty in our societies. And Jesus' words in the gospel confirm that. He says, not a word will be changed. The commandments stand. I'm not sure if you were following some of the big struggles, ideological struggles in the 90s, but there was a major tendency culminating among some theologians to completely sideline the 10 Commandments as normative. And actually the church took it upon herself to really defend the 10 Commandments. And there are two major documents produced by Pope John Paul II, and especially assisted by Cardinal Ratzinger, on this whole battle. And one was on the Gospel of Life, Evangelium Vitae, and then there was another one, let me see if I think about Faith and Reason, about the moral underpinnings of the social fabric. And if you look at the Catechism of the Catholic Church, also produced in those years, it's a major volume that's extraordinarily rich in teaching our faith. There are 4 major sections. And the first section is the Creed. That's the subject matter of our present pilgrimage in faith in the spirit of Abraham, our father in faith. As we're doing right now in Lent, we're almost halfway there. And then there's a section, the last section is on prayer. And the core of that is the Our Father. And the moral section is on the 10 Commandments. it's on the moral life, and the core is the Ten Commandments. So we received the Ten Commandments as a community of disciples of Jesus with incredible earnestness and appreciation and intellectual endeavor and commitment, moral commitment. The Ten Commandments are core. It's amazing how intellectual efforts sometimes run into big stumbling blocks. And when you have major series of scholars more or less implying or directly implying that the Ten Commandments are obsolete, which was the case, if I can say that in a summary fashion. The arguments are obviously a bit more nuanced, but the effect was that. Then the church had to speak out. Normally the church doesn't speak out unless good things are being really assaulted. And obviously there's a speaking out of the regular teaching of the faith, but when there are major conflictual issues, then the church speaks out with great passion to defend the core of our faith. Like in the crisis back in the early centuries, the 3rd and 4th centuries, especially on the identity of Christ. And the church took on that battle directly, and that's really where we have the creed as well, emerged in that way as a summary of our faith. So Christ's position in favor of the commandments is very clear and powerful. And he summarized them, sure, in the 2 great commandments, to love God above all and our neighbor as ourselves. But the redeemed person lives in a fullness of love and not in subservient obedience, slave-like, but as a community cherishing the wisdom of the commandments, embracing their on-targetness. Can you say that? I mean, just the basic one, do not kill. How could you take that out of society? Do not kill. Do not bear false witness. I mean, what kind of a society you would have when people lie and even formally bear false witness? How could a community thrive? Any community. So really, these laws are written in our hearts by the Creator, but sometimes we get so blinded when Jesus says, the man who looks at a woman with lust commits adultery. It's not just the very physical fact of going down that slippery slope and down that way against God's will, but the physical action, but it's already in the heart. And actually that's already in the 10 Commandments. Do not covet, do not desire your neighbor's wife. So the desires were also within the realm of the 10 Commandments. How good it is for us to review the 10 Commandments. And even as a child, I remember, and throughout the last decades as a priest, when people would be preparing to reconcile with God. Oh, here we have another color. I should have seen this 2 days ago for Women's Day, These nice pink flowers. By the way, I missed talking about Women's Day on the 8th of March 2 days ago, and I apologize for that. I just completely didn't think about it. You know, my brain, thanks be to God for my brain, but in the early morning I was probably taken by some other things that were going on, and I never had it. I did remember in the Mass in the evening. And I remembered yesterday on Instagram, and now I'm finally remembering on the Sunrise Stroll and Chat. Even though this isn't a sensational sun shining, it has a beauty, doesn't it? I see many people are greeting the Magdala family. You see, there's a great recognition here of all these good people here participating in this sunrise stroll and chat. And the Philippines are present as well. And we usually have South Africa and Australia. It's a rough time for the Irish because it's 2 hours earlier, so it's 4 o'clock in the morning, so we don't wish anybody insomnia. We hope to have a good sleep and they can catch up later. Happy birthday to all those who have birthdays there. Lots of people moving to work now. We continue praying for all those who are still suffering under the restrictions. It's pretty rough for some people. It's also interesting to see all the prayers we're getting. And I'd like to ask you a favor. We're getting lots and lots of intentions for prayer from the pilgrimage because so many people are participating, and one of the things for me, just reading their intentions and praying for them, is realizing how much suffering there is in the world. And, you know, every one of us have our own little issues. When we see what other people are suffering, it's really educational. It opens our heart, stretches our heart, grows our compassion. So what I'd like to ask you to do is, I won't share the intentions with you directly, but I could do it in a general way. But it's amazing the intensity of suffering. Like one, I'm not sure, a mother or grandmother asked for prayers for a little child that was born with incapacity to hear. You know, those are all burdens for parents. There's a big challenge in every little child, obviously, and major joy. But then those burdens, we need prayer and grace to meet them. And then we have people with major illnesses, fatal illnesses. It doesn't look like there's a way back from the illnesses. We have a wonderful lady who worked here, a consecrated woman, Isabel. So I may ask you for prayers for her as well. She's entering her terminal phase as in cancer, and she has extraordinary clarity of mind in the midst of all her suffering. And she's preparing for the great encounter with God. Her name is Isabel. And she was here for a relatively short period, for maybe half a year or so, here at Magdala, helping before she got her following assignment a number of years ago. And now she's in this circumstance, very advanced, and she's meeting family and friends, and she's in a lot of communication with her own companions, and she's showing this incredible confidence and clarity of mind about her encounter coming with the Lord, her definitive encounter with the Lord. It's very, very inspiring. So lots of people needing prayer, and we have our own little headaches and little problems and miseries. It's good to think about the others and Since you feel you're the Magdala family, then I invite you to take on these people and help them through your prayer. Be a vehicle of support. Look at these nettles here. And our wonderful thistles. I'm waiting for the thistles to bloom because we never like to see the bloom on the farm, but they're beautiful, really. So the Women's Day, Celine, my sister, I've met her, I think, already. She's organising that. It's postponed because of the lockdown, so that people can participate physically also and online. So you're all invited to participate. It's going to be at the end of April, beginning of May, that weekend. And we hope that the circumstances will allow people to gather in Magdala, together with an online all over the world participation as well. So just put that weekend on your calendar, the last day of April and the first 2 days of May. And it's on the theme of hospitality and the woman's heart, the woman's extraordinary gift for hospitality. So I'm just facing a bunch of thistles here, and I think our time is up today. Our surprise didn't happen. I was counting on the surprise might be happening, but maybe that'll be another day. So I have to check there sometimes. We're inviting somebody to join in our conversation here, an extraordinary expert, and hopefully that will happen soon. Looking forward, just learning these technological things. So I went down through all the names there and I didn't see a call in, a request for joining. So the next time, God willing, we'll hope that will come about. There are a lot of possibilities with technology, you just have to know how to use them. So this is a cloudy, hazy morning, and yet we have the sunlight very clearly. It's hitting the lake over there very clearly, so that means it's a clear spot there among the clouds. And here I will say goodbye to you, here amid all these flowers on Mount Arbel, here at the foot of the southern cliffs. Thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you always.